everyone, well, what was all that about? Hello, goodness me, I am obviously feeling very enthusiastic today. Hi everyone, I hope you're all alright. Welcome back to another video. So I put out a bit of a poll on Instagram this week because I had said in last week's video that this week was going to be the first of the renovation videos and was going to be the clearing out of the garage, and I have started filming that, but it just wasn't good enough for me to upload. Like, I just wasn't happy with it. So I put out on Instagram because I thought I was going to continue with the IVF vlog, so that's exactly what I'm going to do today. So today I'm going to do an IVF Q&A. I asked you what kind of videos you wanted to see. That was one of the most popular, and when I pitted that up against the supplements, that was the most popular video choice. So today I'm going to be doing an IVF Q&A. I do these really regularly on my Instagram anyway. I do these every other Monday, so if you're not already, head over to my Instagram page, amber.izzo, and follow me. And while you're at it, pause this video right now and make sure that you subscribe so that you are notified every time I upload a video, because we all know that's exactly what you want. I'm also well aware that I'm basically wearing exactly the same jumper that I wore last weekend, but in a different colour. I swear to God, I'm biased because they're my jumpers, but they're honestly the softest jumpers I own. So I've lived in it this week. I've worn the grey one, the pink one and the white one more than once every day this week. So this is my current attire. So like it or lump it. While I'm on that subject, just a little sales pitch here for you. But these are available to pre-order. I don't know when I'm going to get these back in stock, but the pre-orders do close at midnight tonight for these jumpers. The hoodies are coming out next weekend, next Sunday. But if you are wanting one of these sweatshirts, then you'll need to order before midnight tonight. Anyway, I hope you're all good. So for those of you that are new here, I gained a few subscribers after my last video, so I'll just give you a quick rundown of the situation that I am in. So my husband Marco and I, we've been together 8 years, and for 6 of those, just over 6 now, we have been trying to conceive. It didn't happen at all. It's been a very slow process, but long story short, I have been diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, and on top of that I also had 2 fully blocked fallopian tubes. So after some investigations, I had my fallopian tubes removed in March 2019. This was my decision. I decided to have my tubes removed after being told that they were blocked, and that we could only conceive through IVF. So I had them removed. I did do a video last year. I think it was last year. It might have been the year before. I'm pretty sure it was last year, but I did a video on why I had my tubes removed. So if you want to watch that, just kind of scroll back right to the beginning and it will be there. So I had my tubes removed in March 2019. We had our first cycle of IVF in November 2019, which unfortunately failed. And we then had a cycle again in March 2020. We tested a few days into lockdown and found out that that had also failed. So both of my IVF journeys I have really heavily documented. They are available. I have a playlist called IVF Vlogs, and I also have a playlist called Fertility Episodes, where I have just kind of talked through a load of different things to do with fertility and IVF. So if you do want to watch those videos, then head back that way. So I put out a question box for you, so you could ask me all the questions. So we've got those here, so I am going to go through them. Bruce is joining us today. He's feeling a bit camera shy by the looks of things, and he's hiding, but he's here with his favourite toy. So this is Gingy, everyone. Say hello to Gingy. Gingy is his gingerbread man. Are you looking for him now? Let me see if you squeak him. Where's his squeaker gone? Come say hello. Hello. Say hello, everyone. He just wants Gingy. Do you just want your Gingy? Do you want your Gingy? There you go. Okay, you've got Gingy now. You stay there and play. And this is where he's now going to squeak the whole way through, and it's going to be really annoying. Aren't you? Aren't you, gorgeous boy? No? Okay, cool. We're just being friends. That's nice. Thank you. Thank you. I think he's quite happy being my only baby, in all honesty. Aren't you? You spend most of your days up here with me. Grab yourselves a cup of tea, get yourself all nice and comfy, and we'll make our way through these questions. Should we have a look, Bruce? What type of questions do you think I've got? Do you think I've got nice questions? Have we got nice, easy questions? Have we? Have we? The very first question, just started, I don't know why I'm holding my phone like this like I'm a grandma. I've got my glasses on as well and I'm still like this, goodness me. 26 going on 86. So just started looking into IVF and the costs are confusing me. Websites publish their prices, but how do I know what treatments I will need? Trying to see if it's affordable for us. Okay, so this is quite a hard one. Obviously different clinics have different prices. Brucey, please don't be squeezing that the whole way through, darling. Please don't, thank you. Different clinics have different costs and it's really difficult because clinics are profitable businesses, so they are there to make money. I would have a chat with your consultant. If you're not potentially, I really recommend doing like the virtual open evenings with clinics. A lot of them do them for free. Obviously in normal times you would be able to go and visit the clinic, whereas at the moment you can't do that. So a lot of them are doing virtual open evenings. I think they're really handy just to have a conversation with the consultants. They will often tell you what they think your protocol would be. It's things like, so a lot of places do like a price list and they'll give you an idea of on average how much it costs for a full cycle of IVF. It is worth perhaps emailing the clinics that you're interested in, asking if they can give you like the average price of a full cycle. I tend to, when I'm pricing things up, I tend to have a look at, so we know that we need ICSI. ICSI you will quite often need if there are sperm issues. So we've got low morphology, so that is something that we always need. So we tend to put together the price of IVF, the price of ICSI, the price of, we do like the full blood test things, like most of the time they'll do like a female profile and a male profile. We add those together. The medication I think I've already said, but when it comes to the medication usually it's a range, so it'll be like, for argument's sake, let's say £800 to 1,500. I always pick the highest price because I think then anything less is a bonus. I include the consultation. You'll need to include the consultation cost, the HFEA fee, you will always have to pay. I then include the cost of freezing any embryos, as you will need to pay for that if you have embryos left over and you want them freezing. So yeah, I think my best advice there is to email the clinics that you're interested in and ask them to give you a rough guide. It is quite hard when you're first starting out because you don't know what tests they're going to want you to repeat, etc. But definitely email them and hopefully they should be able to give you an average price. On average, IVF alone is somewhere, I would say, up to about £6,000. Just, well, yeah, anything between £5,000 and £7,000 I would say just for IVF, including the medication. ICSI, I think you're looking realistically at anything from kind of £8,000 upwards. It's also worth considering that you may need a freeze-all cycle, but again, that's not something that I can really say yes you will need or no you won't need. It really depends on your situation, and sometimes things like that just crop up after your egg collection. And you don't know, so it's always worth planning for these things, but definitely get in contact with the clinics and ask them for an average price. The next tip, tips on overcoming severe needle phobia. Okay, so I was quite scared of needles before we started. I've never been very good with needles. I go for blood tests, anything like that, I have to look away. Really not very good with them. A lot of people recommended acupuncture to me as a way of getting over the fear of needles. I didn't do that. Mainly because of how expensive acupuncture is, but it is something I'm considering this time. If acupuncture is something that you could perhaps afford or is something that you want to look into, then that may be a really good way. In all honesty, I got over it pretty quickly. I think once you've done the first one, you're set. Like it just gets easier. In all honesty, I actually found the injecting was my favourite bit of the cycle purely because it was the only bit that I felt like I had any control over. I couldn't let Marco do it. Marco did one of my injections and I never again, like I just won't let him do it. I like having that control, so I do think it's quite easy to do it yourself. It's just a case of remembering the end goal, remembering why you're doing this. But definitely I think have a look at whether or not there's any kind of meditations or anything like that that you can do. Have a look at acupuncture. But all in all, you don't really have a choice. So it might be worth you asking your partner to do it for you. But for me, that was a big no-go. For me, I had to do it myself. And if anything, I think that made me feel a lot better. Where did you have your previous treatment? I had my first and second cycle of IVF at a clinic called ABC Fertility, or just ABC. ABC are the sister clinic of Create, and they are a low-cost shoebox IVF clinic. So everything is kind of the cheapest. Yeah, like the medication Benfola that I was on, I don't really think there's many clinics, if any other clinics, that really use it, because it is the cheapest IVF drug out there. So it is very shoebox. It's not particularly complicated. It won't work for everyone. It didn't work for me. But yeah, each to their own. Obviously have a look. If they're for you, they're for you. If they're not, they're not. But yeah, that's who we went with. Tips on preventing bruising with injections. The first time I didn't bruise at all. The second time I did. I don't really know whether or not you can prevent it, or whether or not it's just one of those things. I think, I always remember my nurses saying to me, do it at different injection points. So unless you have been told that you need to do it at a specific site, I would alternate. So my morning injection, I'd do one side, my evening injection, I would do the other side. And I would make sure as much as possible that it wasn't in exactly the same spot. I would kind of inject throughout the whole region and try not to do the same area twice. Cetrotide did cause me to bruise the second time, as I was doing that with Menopur as well. And I don't know, for some reason that just bruised. But yeah, for me, pinch your skin, pop the needle in. Yeah, the only things I can really recommend with that, not even with bruising, but for like the stinging and things like that, sometimes you will get like alcohol wipes. I never ever use them. Some people might think that's minging, but for me, it stopped it stinging so much, especially with things like Cetrotide, where it is a bit like, it's like a stinging nettle, and sometimes you will get like bumps and it'd be really itchy for 10 minutes or so after you've done it. But yeah, that's my only advice really. Just make sure that you're trying to do it through different injection sites and you're not doing it at the exact same point every day. So mix it up a bit, and then the skin, it kind of gives the skin a bit of time to recover, I suppose. What is the difference between long and short protocol? I'm not entirely sure on this front, just on the basis that I've only had short protocol, so I will be having long protocol, and my understanding is that you are given medication from around day 21 of the cycle before the IVF cycle, and it's where they kind of shut your body down and they control your cycle beforehand, rather than kind of just waiting and waiting for you to come on. I'm not entirely sure. It's something that I do need to look into a little bit more, because I think I am going to be doing long protocol, but I have never ever done it before. Would you recommend acupuncture? I don't know, because I've not had it. It is something that I am looking to do for my next cycle, so I will be looking at starting that around July time, and doing it for about 2 months. I've been reading the Zita West diet book, and she really recommends it, and she recommends doing it for 2 months before your cycle and then during your cycle as well as the day of transfer. So that's definitely something I'm going to look into, but it is very expensive. A lot of people have said to me it's well worth it, if just to relax you. So it's definitely something that I'm going to consider. I'm not wholly convinced that it will make a difference to the outcome, but I do think it will make me feel a lot more relaxed, which is why I'm going to give it a go. What does FET stand for? So FET stands for frozen embryo transfer. So that is when your embryos are in the freezer, whether or not that's because you've had a freeze-all cycle or because you've had one transferred and the remaining were put in the freezer. So that just means that you're having an IVF cycle, but without the egg collection, and just an embryo transfer from the freezer. They're often significantly cheaper because you're not having the stimulation, nor are you having the egg collection. Have you tried the CoQ10 supplements yet? Yes. So I took them with my last cycle, not for very long. I only took them for about 2 weeks before we started, which was a bit stupid. My husband took them during the last cycle. My clinic this time, the Izzo, have recommended that I take it. So I am taking them. They're Nutravita ones. Absolutely fine. Whether or not it's had any impact, I don't know, but yes, I'm taking them every day along with omega-3, vitamin D, and my Proceive sachets. So I'm taking Proceive Max, which was gifted to me by Proceive. But yeah, brilliant. My clinic were really, really happy with the fact that we were taking Proceive. So yes, I'm taking all my supplements. So my camera died and I don't know where that cut off, so I'm going to carry on just on where I think I was. I think I'd answered the last question, but I'm going to re-answer it just in case. I don't know why I'm telling you this, because I'm just going to edit out the video. Whoops. What is the reason some people just want frozen embryos only? Okay, so I'm not entirely sure on what this question is referring to, because there's quite a few different reasons. So depending on what you're asking, so there's multiple different reasons why people would aim just for frozen embryos. So people who follow me on Instagram will see that quite a lot I have referred to the fact that we are just hoping for frozen embryos. Of course we are hoping for a pregnancy. We are hoping that our fresh transfer results in a positive pregnancy. But with our last couple of cycles, we haven't had anything in the freezer, which means every single time we have had another cycle of IVF, we've had to have a fresh cycle, which means that we are paying the maximum amount, that we are going through all the injections again, that we are having the egg collection again. Whereas with a frozen transfer, if you've got embryos in the freezer, it is a lot cheaper. Like, I think most clinics are probably around the 2,500–3,000 mark for a frozen transfer, including the medication. So for us, we are hoping that we get frozen embryos in the freezer, so that if this doesn't work, we have embryos in the freezer to work, to try even, and to transfer, rather than having to do a fourth whole fresh cycle. But to be honest, I mean, I'll cover this in another video. I think I'm going to do a whole video dedicated to this. We have decided that this is going to be our last egg collection, so if we don't get anything in the freezer and it doesn't work, like, that's it for us. We won't be doing IVF again. Our third cycle will be our final cycle. So for us, we are really, really hoping that we get embryos in the freezer for that reason. Other people do what is known as embryo banking. So embryo banking is effectively where you do fresh rounds of IVF back to back. So some people will do 3 or 4 cycles of IVF where they are having all the stimulating medication, they're having the egg collection, and everything is going straight in the freezer rather than having a fresh transfer. And people do this so that they can get as many embryos as possible in the freezer, and they can do as many frozen cycles as necessary to achieve a successful pregnancy. So some people just prefer to do it that way, and they call it embryo banking. I suppose there's lots of other reasons. For people with PCOS that are high risk of ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, people that have that will quite often have a freeze-all cycle, so that is potentially what we're looking at with our clinic. Our clinic might get us to do that, because people with PCOS are quite high risk of OHSS, and if you do get that, it can be very, very dangerous and can put you in hospital and make you very, very, very poorly. So some clinics will want a freeze-all cycle and then give your body a chance to recover and then do a frozen transfer. So there's lots of different reasons why people would potentially want that. But yeah, I don't think people just want them in the freezer and then obviously not to transfer them. Some people do. Some people, I suppose, will bank their embryos for whatever reason, for medical conditions, etc., etc., and then transfer them at a much later date. There's lots of different reasons for why, but that is our reason why, because we don't want to do another fresh cycle. I hate even blood tests / smears, so I am super nervous about the egg collection. Any tips? The egg collection, I think, well, you're sedated, first of all, so you don't feel a thing. You have no idea that it's going on. For me, I kind of, yeah, went under, and that was it. I woke up telling Marco 7 times that I was bleeding. I woke up very hungry. I woke up wanting a biscuit and a cup of tea. So yeah, I don't think it's as bad as you anticipate it to be. I think the anticipation, like with all of IVF, I think, with the injections and everything, I think the anticipation is actually worse than the doing. So for me, my tips are to take your own snacks, which is a really useful snacks, really useful snacks, goodness me, you can tell what's on my brain. Really useful tip, because they obviously give you certain biscuits, etc., but when I come round, I'm really hungry and all I want to do is eat, so I take my own snacks because sometimes the clinics just don't cut it. So yeah, I think you just have to, I hate the words just relax, but spend the few days before your egg collection just looking after yourself, making sure that you're feeling good, whether that's meditation, whether that's some kind of fertility yoga, whether or not that's making sure that you've had lots of sleep. You can only do the best that you can with the tools that you have, and the tools that you have are your body, and you shouldn't beat yourself up about it, anything like that. You might not get as many eggs as you anticipate, but again, you've done the best that you can, and as much as there's part of me that hates it, and I've been there when you've only had one to transfer, and I've been there when you've had none to transfer, it does only take one, as hard as that is. and as unfortunate as that has been in our case, it does only take one. And so my tips are: take your own snacks. I'm not going to say the word relax, but spend the few days before looking after yourself. I also advise taking the few days after off work. I have always taken the days between egg collection and transfer off work, mainly because I've been very uncomfortable for a few days afterwards. But I also think it gives you time to chill out and just do what makes you feel good before you have your transfer a few days later. The wait from the embryologists is excruciating. So like hearing the progress on your embryos, that for me was the hardest part. So my advice there is to take your days off work, or if you like your job and you're quite happy going into work, go into work. Whatever takes your mind off things over the next few days, I would recommend doing. But they are my tips in terms of egg collection. I've just been referred. Who knows when I'll hear from them? What should I expect? Okay, I'm not sure where you've been referred to, so that I'll answer the question in a few different dimensions. If you've just been referred to the fertility clinic for investigations, God, I can't really remember it now. We went through our entire history. She kind of did like a questionnaire with us, going through my symptoms, etc. And then we were told that we needed all these different tests doing. That for me, I quite liked, as I felt like everything was kind of systems go then. We were getting all the tests done, we were getting pushed through, it was fine. With regards to an IVF consultation, if you've just been referred, I would assume if you've been referred it's an NHS consultation. So I'm not entirely sure what they entail of, because we were never with the NHS. But I assume the consultation will be very similar to what I've had privately. Your consultation, again, they usually go over your medical history. They tell you what kind of things they would be expecting to do with you, what protocol you would be on, what medication you would be on, all the risks that are involved, your form signing, etc, etc. But on top of that, that's where I was weighed. I had an internal scan to see where I was at naturally without medication. So yeah, I advise taking a notepad, because you will be given an awful lot of information. I like to write things down. I would also go with any questions written down so you don't forget to ask. Also, advice on this: if you don't understand anything, even if they have to repeat it 4 or 5 times, I don't care. If you don't understand, ask and make them explain it to you in layman's terms so that you understand. At the end of the day, your body is about to go through something not necessarily traumatic, but it is about to go through a really vigorous process. So for me, it's really, really important that you understand absolutely everything that's going on. So make sure you ask your questions. But the first appointment is very much just discussing what is going to be happening going forward. And then you may have, again, I don't know how they do it, or whether or not it was just my clinic that did it this way, but we had a consultation and then we had a treatment consultation. And in the treatment consultation, I was taught how to use my medication, etc, etc, and I had to sign forms basically to say if Marco died, was I still okay to use his embryos. So yeah, there's a lot involved, but your first appointment should be quite exciting, I think, because you're finally getting the ball rolling. So like I say, yeah, usually it's just a general checkup, going through your history and working out what they're going to do going forward. So yeah, good luck. The next question, so this is, I believe, the final question. Would you transfer your 2 remaining frozen embryos together? Pros and cons. Okay. I mean, when you say you're, I'm assuming that this is the situation you're in, because obviously that's not the situation that I'm in. Personally, no, I wouldn't. I have had the conversation with Marco and clinics about 2 embryos being transferred if we had 2 embryos, and the conclusion that we came to is that no, I would not transfer 2 embryos. I understand that some clinics will encourage you to do it for a multitude of different reasons. If you've had a lot of failed implantations, again, depending on your age, if you're in the older category, they may want to transfer 2, because with 2 there is you're more likely to have 1 stick. However, with transferring 2 embryos, you are also quite I don't know about saying a high risk, but there is obviously also a risk that you would have twins, or that one of them would split and you would have triplets, or in really rare cases that both embryos would split and you could potentially have quadruplets. Now, a lot of people, especially in the IVF world, I think here it's a higher risk of twins, and people are like, yes, brilliant, get it out the way, move on. there's an awful lot of risks that are involved with multiple pregnancies. We kind of have a bit of an understanding of it, and we looked into like likelihood of twins, etc., because we have a lot of twins in our family. Both of our parents are twins, grandparents are twins, so we always thought that naturally we would perhaps be kind of a higher risk of twins, but there's an awful lot of risks involved that I don't think everybody is aware of. I'm sure the statistics are something like 50%, not 50%, goodness me. I'm sure the statistics are something like 15% of twin pregnancies are premature or born before 30 weeks or something like that. But they are much higher risk to both the babies and to you. And I think if you can avoid it, and there is no reason why both should be transferred, then don't do it, in my opinion. I suppose you have to go through the risks with your clinic and decide whether or not it's the right decision for you. But for me, it wouldn't be the right decision, so no, I wouldn't do it. So that's the end of the questions that I'm going to go through today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been informative for you. I hope you kind of feel like you understand where I am in my journey a little bit better. Over the next few weeks, there are going to be lots of videos. I will be doing a video on why this is going to be our last egg collection. I don't feel like I'm in the mental headspace to film that just yet. I spoke about it on my Instagram stories this week and got really upset and started crying, which isn't something I do on Instagram very often. But that is a video that I will definitely cover, because I think it's a conversation that people need to have more, because I have real issues with the whole never give up narrative in the TTC world, and think that toxic positivity is a real thing. So I'll be having that conversation with you soon. I'll also go over my supplements. I've had a lot of questions about those, so I'll be covering supplements in due course, as well as the Zita West book. I will actually show you that book, bear with me. So this is the book that I'm currently reading. It is the Zita West IVF diet. So far, I think it's bloody brilliant. So it's not, I bought it thinking it was a cookbook, so it's not a cookbook at all. There's 60 recipes in there, so you can see there that there's 2 different recipes there. But the bit that I'm reading at the moment is very much just factual. And there's an awful lot of stuff that I have found so useful in here, I can't tell you. It's even things like the plastic. So I drink a lot of bottled water. We buy bottled water. I say I drink a lot of it. I don't drink anywhere enough of it. But when I do drink water, I drink bottled water. I have got a Hydrate Mate bottle, which I will link in the comment box below, in the description box even below, because I think it's brilliant and it has all the times on it. You can get cheaper versions, but I really like this one. It's BPA free, etc, etc. Really sturdy. I really like it. I just don't use it enough. But yeah, like all the BPA, it basically, if you're using plastics, you need to make sure that they're BPA free, because all the chemicals in there can mess with your estrogen and things like that. The food in here we found really interesting, of things to kind of avoid, like things like extra olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. I cook with that a lot. Now, I love extra virgin olive oil on my salads, and that's absolutely fine. We can continue to do that, but we shouldn't be cooking with it. So when we are cooking, we should be using, I think it was a light one she'd said. Let me just double check that. I don't want to be giving you fake news. Let me have a look. Here we go. Yeah, so try to use light olive oil, coconut oil, or small amounts of organic unsalted butter when cooking. Don't cook with extra virgin olive oil. Light olive oil is less likely to smoke when you heat it. Extra virgin olive oil is best for drizzling or low temperature cooking, because it basically can increase your stress hormone, and stress and everything else is obviously all linked. But it is an absolutely fantastic book so far. I think I'm on I think I've just started part 3, and I'm obsessed with it. I think it's absolutely bloody brilliant, possibly one of the best IVF books I've read so far. So I'm going to link that in the description box below, as well as the Hydrate Mate bottle, and I'm also going to link these, because like I say, they go out of stock tonight. I won't be stocking them for quite some time after that, if at all. I'm not entirely sure when they're going to be back in stock, but I'll link all like the innovation fertility pages and things like that below. So yeah, anyway, I will do the Zita West recipe books, videos, supplement videos, why this is going to be our last egg collection. All the renovation videos will start sooner rather than later. I think work starts in about 5 weeks now. We've had the structural engineer come round, and we've been given the okay to kind of carry on with that. Like that was nice and easy. So now we just need to do the building regs, etc, etc. Anyway, But yeah, so there's a lot of videos coming your way. If there are any specific IVF videos that you want me to cover, please do let me know in the comments below. I want to make sure that the information I'm giving you, that the videos I'm doing are of interest to you. I do think IVF diet and food and things like that is something that people like to see, so I am going to be doing lots of those videos. But do just let me know kind of what videos you want to see. I don't want to bore you by doing the same videos all the time, but obviously I've got 9 months or so before we actually start treatment, so I don't know, like saving tips, like what kind of things do you want to see? Let me know. Also, Tyrone, if you're watching this video, fuck off. Not sure if you saw, but on my last lot of videos, somebody called Tyrone started commenting on my videos saying how me and Marco just weren't compatible and that's just why it's not working, and then told me to get a cat. So Tyrone, anyway, have a lovely week, my loves, and I will see you next Sunday for another video. Don't forget to subscribe. See you through the week on Instagram. Bye.